In the world of transgender discourse on the internet, a lot of the times the subject of gender dysphoria comes up. Sometimes we get lucky and get to talk about gender euphoria and trans joy, but today is neither of those things. No, instead we are delving into the world, my personal world, of gender indignation. Hello. I'm Shelby, the Pageant Archivist, pronouns they, she. On this channel, I talk all things pageant culture and history, and today is a little bit of both. We are going back to Miss USA 2021, its historic inclusion of its very first transgender contestant, and how Miss USA completely fumbled it. But first, let me take you back. Picture it. Thailand, 2018. And I'm sure your immediate thought to that is, why are we going to Thailand? I thought we were talking about Miss USA. Don't worry, I'm gonna get there. The 2018 edition of Miss Universe is by far my favorite edition of the pageant ever, and it hooked me into following the whole Miss Universe system as closely as I do today, which includes many spreadsheets. The show was spectacularly done. The stage set the standard for the type of runway that any queen representing her country should expect at the international level, and deserve. We had the legendary lava walk and the subsequent lava gown from Miss Universe herself, Catriona Gray. And I mean, look at Miss Universe Vietnam. Look at her. I love her so much. And I mean, don't get me wrong, it wasn't a perfect pageant. I've never been a fan of the whole continental system. Like, if it's a top 20, it's the highest top 20 people regardless of what continent in the world they're coming from. Then there's the whole Miss USA debacle where she's showing the version of the USA that we're not supposed to show to the neighbors.
I hear you're a racist now, father!
I mean, I wasn't shocked, I was just disappointed. And then, of course, the presence of Steve Harvey. Got a whole video idea for Steve Harvey rolling around the back of my head. Probably won't be done for a while, so in the meantime, maybe subscribe, hit the bell. But I digress. The reason I'm bringing up the 2018 edition of the Miss Universe pageant is because it was the very first year that its first transgender contestant walked the stage. Her being Angela Ponce, Miss Universe Spain. While she unfortunately didn't make it into the semifinals, Miss Universe did not hide her in the background. After the top 20 concluded their speech competition, Ponce was given special recognition in a segment detailing her road to the national crown, her call for acceptance and compassion, and her hopes for a better, kinder future for all people. The moment concluded with Ponce taking to the runway, her sash held high in a gesture of triumph as the audience rose in a standing ovation. It was magnificent, and I almost cried. So you can imagine my disappointment and ire at the night and day contrast of the way Miss USA received its first transgender state title holder. But first, let's go back a couple years. Catalina Enriquez was born in Angeles City, Pampanga in the Philippines as the eldest of 7 children. Her family immigrated to the United States when she was 10 years old, settling in San Leandro, California. Her interest in the fashion industry led her to become both a designer and a model. She attended the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising, eventually starting her own clothing brand, Catalina Couture. She's also worked as a healthcare admin who specialized in LGBTQ+ care. It was her modeling that led her to enter the pageant world. In 2015, she entered her first pageant, which was specifically held for transgender women. When she entered pageants that allowed both cis and trans women, including the Miss USA system, Enriquez faced new challenges. Despite trans women being allowed to compete for several years prior, roadblocks were put before her that her fellow cisgender contestants did not have to deal with. In an interview with Good Morning America, she said, "When I started competing with cisgender women or the Miss USA organization, there was one competition where I was asked to provide documents that I think were invasive and were singling me out. Also, I was not provided roommates, regardless of my identity. When applying to compete in another state besides Nevada, she endured a much stricter vetting process despite meeting all of the documentation requirements." Knowing that, I can't help but think of all of the other trans women who also wanted to compete at the state level, but didn't want to have to deal with all of the extra hoops they had to go through, and it makes me sad, to say the least. In Cataluna's case, the old saying I think rings true here. Nevertheless, she persisted, and she made history as the Miss Nevada USA crown was placed on her head. She said, "I'm a trans woman of color, a minority within a minority. I'm everything that's not represented in our country, and ready to create conversations around what it means to be an American." Watching her both prior and during the preliminaries for Miss USA that year, I was just so excited. I adored her. I loved her stage presence, I loved her wardrobe, especially knowing the fact that she designs many of her own wardrobe pieces. I loved her message, I loved her confidence. She quickly rose as one of my frontrunners. So imagine my shock and displeasure when it came time to announce the semifinals and she was not amongst said semifinalists. I was flabbergasted, to say the least. Let me double check the lighting. Of course, I have a western-facing window in this room. Okay, that's better. I think. Obviously, I can't predict the results of every single pageant. But when it comes to my own personal frontrunner, I'm never this far off. She always at least makes it past the first elimination round. Now, before we go any further, I need to specify something, and this is very important. Just because I am upset that Cataluna did not make it into the top 20, it does not mean that I don't believe that the other top 20 finalists did not deserve to be there. They did. They absolutely deserved it. They worked hard for it. They are not any less deserving of their accomplishments. Two things can be true at the same time. It also does not mean that I don't think Elle Smith deserved to win that year. Elle Smith was a fantastic Miss USA. She's a multi-talented, driven, beautiful, caring, accomplished woman. She did an amazing job representing us at Miss Universe, and I think she's got even more exciting things ahead in her future. Cataluna herself said in an interview, "Elle was so sweet. I'm happy that she won. She was an amazing competitor on stage and backstage as well. Her family was so sweet to me, so welcoming to me." I want all of that to be clear before we continue. Any complaints that I have regarding the Miss USA organization does not fall on the shoulders of the title holders and competitors. Now that we got that out of the way, allow me to continue. Despite Cataluna not making it into the semifinals, I was hoping for at least some recognition of this historic moment, at least some resemblance to what Angela Ponce received, but all we got was crickets. In the days that followed the Miss USA coronation night, there was still this sort of thing going on in the back of my head that there was something sus. No, there's evil afoot. And that's when I came across an article on my news feed from Yahoo that confirmed my spidey senses. In an article titled "Miss USA's First Transgender Contestant, Cataluna Enriquez on Being Eliminated Early, I think they were just not ready." She explained that while the other candidates received questions about the environment, politics, their careers, their activism, she said, "My interview was solely on my transition. It was disappointing to me because I had so much more to offer. I had so much more I wanted to talk about." And that's so true. Cataluna Enriquez is more than just a trans woman in the public eye. Enriquez is a domestic violence survivor who has used a lot of her opportunities from pageants to promote awareness and education around DV. Another issue she's passionate about is mental health awareness, being someone who's had her own mental health challenges and has benefited a lot from therapy. She has a lot to say too on what it means to be an American as an immigrant and as a woman of color. She's also involved in the fashion industry. Don't you want to hear her thoughts on how she would make her brand more environmentally friendly given the fact that the fashion industry produces a lot of waste and carbon emissions? Or how would she envision a more inclusive modeling world with more body diversity given her own experiences as a model? She's also worked in the healthcare system. What changes would she like to see to make it more friendly to queer people? It's like she has so much interesting stuff about her. But no, that's apparently just too hard. So this isn't some radical observation I'm making here. As a non-binary person, as someone who is under the trans umbrella, I've noticed that a lot of cisgender people have a certain level of entitlement when it comes to our stories as transgender people. It's this demand that we be on-call educators all day, every day, regardless of the amount of labor and energy that takes to do that, regardless of what that puts on our shoulders. In those situations, there's suddenly this lack of awareness of appropriate social boundaries. Like, hey, would this be considered an intrusive question, perhaps even sexual harassment, if I were to ask this of a cisgendered person? Or it's a sense of apathy towards those social boundaries. And if you're a cis person who is starting to get fired up listening to that, two things. One, I did not say all cis people. I'll specify that. I did not say all cis people. Two, if that disclaimer still has not calmed you down, maybe it's time to go sit with that for a little bit. Maybe just let that settle in for a while. Even if it might make your lower back hurt a little bit the next day, just kind of sit with that discomfort, figure out what that means. But again, I digress. I get that there's a certain novel interest when it comes to transgender people. We're only less than 2% of the world's population after all. But it gets to a point when a trans person isn't volunteering to share their stories, or they're around people that they're not comfortable sharing said stories with. It gets to a point where we stop being people and are thus dehumanized, objectified, and basically turned into a sideshow attraction. We don't need that. We've never needed that. We certainly don't need it now. Do you know what it's like being trans in America right now? If you're gonna be trans in America, you're gonna have a bad time. We need cis people to step up, stand up for us, listen to us, refer to our expertise, and take on some of that labor with regards to making yourself better informed about transgender issues and transgender people. Flashing across your screen right now are a plethora of some amazing trans women, trans men, and we're not binary people, and non-binary people who have amazing channels here on YouTube that I think you can all learn a lot from. I mean, you're already one step ahead because you're watching me. And if there's a trans content creator here on YouTube or even on another platform that isn't on this list that you'd like to shout out, please feel free to let everyone know in the comments section so we can check them out. Also feel free to shout out any other artist or musician or any other trans person you love and admire in any field, really. But if you have the audacity to recommend someone like Blair White or any of her self-loathing, grifting ilk, I will take your commenting privileges away, and I can do that. But again, I digress. One of the main causes as to why we face the problems that we do is because too many people don't see us as full human beings with all of the complexities that come with being so that we are. It's easy to oppress a person when you dehumanize them. We need to be seen as people. Some of the creators you're seeing now talk a lot about trans issues specifically. Some touch on trans issues from time to time, and some of them really don't talk about trans issues at all. And if you're trying to be more informed about trans people and our experiences, it's just as important to watch and listen to content that isn't exclusively about trans stuff from trans people. You really need to see us beyond our transness, beyond the challenges we face day-to-day basis because of our gender. Cataluna herself stated, "Going in there, I had a lot of fears because our country is so divided at the moment, and I didn't know how people would receive me. But as soon as we had more time together, I think they learned to understand who I am as a person and woman, and we got to bond, and they realized I'm more than just a trans person." I will give credit where credit is due. There were a troubling amount, although not surprising amount, of threats to Cataluna's safety leading up to the pageant. And the Miss USA organization served her well in keeping her physically safe. You only get to compete for Miss USA once, and you don't want that experience to be marred by any sort of injury, whether that be physical or psychological, or even just a bunch of ignorant bigots with too much time and way too many markers and poster boards on their hands. While they protected her from the ignorance without, I wish that they had taken the time to protect her from the ignorance within. It's a pageant organizer's job to adequately brief their judges on how they want the interviews to go. The women who put all of this time and energy and money deserve at least that much. If Miss USA wants to be seen as a job, then the interview needs to be conducted in a way that is like your typical job interview. And that includes not conducting it in a way that might get you sued by the ACLU. If Miss USA wants to prove itself as a forward-thinking, modern organization, then it needs to make sure that its queens from marginalized communities have the same chance as the queens with some privilege on their side. And this isn't just for the benefits of the ladies walking the stage. This is for the benefit of the organization itself. Cataluna has already competed at the international level representing the United States. Prior to competing at Miss USA in 2018, she placed in the top 12 at Miss International Queen, which is the most prestigious international pageant for trans women in the world. She returned to International Queen again in 2024, placing in the top 6. She can clearly hold her own against other highly competitive nations in the pageant world. Also, look at how amazing she looks with the USA sash on. I mean, come on! It's not fair. And like I said before, you only get to compete for Miss USA one time. And my God, would I love to see her on the Miss Universe stage so bad. Hey, Miss Universe Philippines. You want a Filipino Society of Nevada delegate next year? Obviously, only if she wants to do that. I'm not gonna sit here and be a parasocial pageant mom over here. She might be done with pageants for all I know. Okay, again, I digress. Now, with regards to any sort of special recognition, I can already hear a bunch of people whining, when does she get special treatment? It's not fair to the other girls. Because that's what they did back in 2018 with Angela Ponce. And I'll tell you why that's important. 2 reasons. Reason number 1, cultural respect. Like I said prior, the 2018 edition of Miss Universe took place in Thailand, and transgender pageants are a pretty big deal in Thailand. You'll also remember me mentioning that Cataluna competed at Miss International Queen twice. Well, Miss International Queen takes place in Thailand every year. It's not only nationally televised in Thailand, as well as nationally televised in other Asian countries. So the right light just went out. We're just gonna pretend that did not happen. No, it really doesn't look all that different. It's not only nationally televised in Thailand, as well as in several other Asian countries, it's sponsored by the Tourism Authority of Thailand. Amongst Miss International Queen's many endeavors like advocating for human rights, equality, and raising money for AIDS charities, it's also used to promote international tourism, particularly to the city of Pattaya, where the pageant is held every year. Giving that moment of recognition and celebration was not just respectful to Ponce, it's also respectful to the host nation. And reason number 2. And this is the main one that applies here. Continuing on the theme of respect, the celebration of a trans woman achieving such a big accomplishment in pageantry, just making it to the Miss Universe stage, shows a level of support for recognizing trans women for who they are and all they can be and accomplish, and that's an important step forward in the pageant world. Pageants are one of those things that are considered to be one of the ultimate ultra-feminine hobbies. I mean, you think back to the There She Is Miss America song. One of the lyrics is describing her as the queen of femininity. Miss Universe acknowledging Ponce's accomplishment the way they did is validating her womanhood, validating that she belongs, and that there's no one way to be a woman. If you think that cis women and trans women shouldn't be allowed to compete together, what you're saying is trans women are not women, and that's prejudice. And that's misogyny, and it's trans misogyny. You can't call yourself pro-women empowerment if you engage in misogyny and exclude an entire group of women. The two are indeed mutually exclusive. Since 2021, we've only had one other trans title holder make it to Miss USA, and that was just last year in 2024. Bailey Ann Kennedy was a whole bunch of firsts when she won the title of Miss Maryland USA, which was her first pageant, by the way. Not only was she the first trans woman to win the title, she was also the first Asian American, the first immigrant, the first military spouse, and the first woman over the age of 28 to win the Maryland crown. I haven't seen any news that she received the same negative treatment as Cataluna did. Maybe that means Miss USA learned its lesson after the negative coverage it received after Cataluna spoke out. I hope that it means that she was treated with the dignity and respect that she deserves. I mean, who knows what's going on with Miss USA these days?
Where in the world is
Layla Rose? I swear the only reason I want to win the lottery is because I want to buy Miss USA. And the whole Miss Universe organization, if I'm being honest. I miss the IMG era so much. But again, I digress. I was hoping to have some sort of stirring ending speech to all this. Maybe a call to action, but all I got is Add more trans people to your media diet. Add more marginalized people to your media diet in general. Support trans people in every possible way that you can. And I feel like this quote is fitting given the fact that we are in Pride Month. We are not free until all of us are free. Thank you for your patience with me getting this video out. It's been a rough almost year since I last posted mental health and disordered eating stuff. I think I also had a bit of a research hangover after the last video being so research intensive. And I still missed things, which I need to add an addendum to now as well, because I'm a perfectionist. And of course, the current political climate. So, I appreciate y'all coming back. Appreciate any way that you can interact with the video, whether it's liking it, commenting, subscribing, hitting the bell. Turns out copying the link to the video in the share option down in the doobly-doo. You don't have to necessarily post anywhere, just as long as you copy the URL. Apparently that's helpful too. There's definitely a chance I'm gonna be getting at least some transphobic trolls in the comment section, so to counter all that negativity and create kind of a palate cleanser, please feel free to add a story of something really especially cute that your fur, feather, or scale baby does, because I would love to read that. I love the fur babies. Plus, leaving long comments also helps push the video out, so even if you don't have one, if you feel just like rambling, I mean, I'm not your dad, I can't tell you what to do. If there are any ideas of what you'd like me to cover in the future, feel free to comment that as well. And I hope to see you back much sooner next time.